We'll get started in just a minute. Okay, the time is now 5:02 on January 21st, and the Special Community Development Committee meeting is called to order. Roll call, please.
Alderman Martinez.
Present.
Alderman Donenworth.
Present.
Alderman Florian.
Present.
Alderman Felix.
Present.
Chairman Hayes.
Present. We have a quorum. Thank you. Agenda item number 2 is a public hearing. The public hearing is now open at 5:02. As a public hearing for public comments on 701 Belvedere Road. It's a map amendment from a B2 district to a community shopping, community shopping to a B3 general commercial. Are there any members of the public that wish to comment on this agenda item at the public hearing? Second call for anybody from the public that wishes to comment on this agenda item. All right. Third and final call for anybody that wishes to comment on this agenda item. No takers. I'll take, unless there's any questions, I'll take a motion in a second to close the public hearing.
Motion. Second.
First by Alderman Donenworth, second by Alderman Martinez. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The public hearing is closed at 5:03. How'd we do? All right. It lasted for a minute. We nailed it. Nice job, everybody. Okay. Agenda item number 3 is audience time. Are there any members of the audience that wish to address the committee about any of the items on tonight's Special Community Development Committee meeting? No? Okay, there being no old business, new business. Under agenda item number 5. Agenda item 5A is in order. Can I get a first and a second for agenda item 5A?
First. So move.
First from Alderman Martinez, second from Alderman Donenworth. Agenda item 5A is an ordinance approving a map amendment and granting a conditional use permit and variance for the establishment of a motor vehicle repair and service facility at 701 Belvedere, zoning calendar number 2765 and 2772. This is the matter that was just in the public hearing. Are there any questions?
If I may just comment, the property owner intended to be here this evening and came down ill today, so he apologized for not being able to be here.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? There being none, roll call, please.
Alderman Donenworth.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Martinez.
Aye.
Alderman Felix.
Aye.
Chairman Hayes.
Aye. Motion passes. Agenda item B. Can I have a first and a second?
First. Second.
First by Alderman Felix, second by Alderman Donilworth. Agenda item 5B is a motion to direct Corporation Council to negotiate a development and incentive agreement with the Waukegan Community Development Partnership for various properties within the city's downtown. It's my understanding the Corporation Council is planning to present on this topic for a few minutes.
Yes, if the IT guys could please bring up the presentation. Okay. So this is a motion to direct Corporation Council to negotiate a development and incentive agreement with the Waukegan Community Development Partnership for various properties within the city's downtown. If we could go to the next slide. Oh, and just to say, I'm going to give a quick summary presentation. Noel can also speak to some issues, and then the floor should probably be given to Alderman Felix, as this is his proposal. So it's a little bit hard to read all this, but what Alderman Felix, thank you very much for like a better copy. Okay. What Alderman Felix has asked is that to direct Corporation Council to negotiate a development agreement with the Waukegan Community Development Partnership to redevelop 200 North County. This agreement includes the following City of Waukegan incentives totaling $1.725 million, which would be broken down between $900,000 in upfront funding, which would be given to the developer, assumingly at contract closing, basically when they're ready to begin construction. That money would then be reimbursed from TIF 8 to the city, and then afterwards there would be the remaining incentive, which would be $825,000, would be paid out over the life of the TIF from both the property itself, 200 North County, and 38 North Genesee. The proposed incentive would also include a complete waiver of building permit and inspection fees, and the provision of 19 parking spaces at the 216 North County parking garage at no cost for 30 years. And this agreement would also include extending to, excuse me, sir. Sir, if you need to have a conversation, if you could please go outside. This agreement also includes extending TIF 8 from its current 14-year term to an additional 12 years for a total of 26 years to facilitate expanding the overall payment period. And then, once again, the both increment from the 200 North County property and 38 North Genesee would be used to pay back these incentives. Then Alderman Felix has also asked that city staff enter into negotiations with WCDP for the redevelopment of the city-owned parking lot, which is 212 North Madison Street and 4 South Genesee, the Waukegan building. And he requests that regular updates on these negotiations be given to the alderpersons. So just as to recall, this is mainly regarding what was deemed Phase 1A of the WCDP presentation. If we can go to the next slide. The developer's proposal is for the former YMCA building at 200 North County to develop 19 residential units plus 6,700 square feet of commercial space within that building. The project cost is estimated, the last time it was presented to us, at $3.7 million, and they were requesting $1.725 million in support of that. In addition, the developers are planning to redevelop the former restaurant at 38 North Genesee with 6 residential units and 3,000 square feet of commercial space at a total cost of $1.6 million. They are not asking for an incentive on the 38 North Genesee, but would ask that the increment from 38 North Genesee, tax increment generated, would be applied then to the incentives for 200 North County. So we had taken, staff had worked with the city's financial consultant, S.B. Friedman, and looked at what is projected increment. And I will note that these are numbers that were given to the city by its consultant. I think the developers have a more optimistic view of the increment. But if we can go to the next slide. It is expected that the total project increment to be generated from both these properties within the current 14-year term would be $849,166 an increment. If you extend it out 26 years, it would get to about $2 million and a little bit more an increment. That would require the TIF 8 to be extended. It should be noted that because these include residential units, the city would be required to give a contribution to District 60 of some of this increment. Over 8 years, approximately $292,000, so about $300,000, and in 26 years, $544,000. So the projected increment that would actually be available for the incentive, if we just stick with the 14 years of the current TIF, these are projected to only generate $556,000 in available increment. If you extend it out to 26 years, it is $1.528 million. Next slide is the cost of the other incentives. If free parking for 19 spaces were extended out for 30 years, the approximate cost would be $547,000. Now, that assumes that we're actually giving up an opportunity cost and that those spaces are actually being rented. Otherwise, it would be giving that up. But that is what we charge. That's what the city currently charges. I would also note that the Unified Development Ordinance offers a full reduction of off-street parking in this area through the variance process. So the development is not actually required under our statutes to provide off-street parking, but I think the feeling is that if this is not included in these properties as an amenity, these residential units would be much less attractive. Building permit fee, estimated based on actual construction costs, not project costs, which include property acquisition, we estimate to be about $42,000. So that's what the city would be offering back to the. Okay, so there's a few open questions that I do hope you consider if you are going to be directing us. Would be, one, the source of the upfront funding. With a request for $900,000 in upfront funding, this would need to come from somewhere. Currently, the TIF 8 increment fund has $2.9 million as of December 31st. That's good news. That's a lot of increment. One of the issues is that there are a number of other obligations on this money. One, there are approximately $1.5 million, and I don't know if is Jesus here today. $1.5 million that would need to be done to the city's parking structure in downtown, which would need to come from the TIF. The 1 South Genesee property, which we are still under contract to buy, but we're waiting on the remediation of certain environmental issues, it would be another $475,000. There is a ETC grant match, which Noel can speak to, where we are required to put in $600,000. The Karcher Center, there's an existing redevelopment agreement that requires $175,000 in annual payments. Seahorse Drive, part of Seahorse Drive is in this TIF, and its contribution to the engineering for the redo of Seahorse Drive is about $250,000. And then there's other consulting and legal expenses, both engineering and just other issues with the TIF. So as you can see, if you add all those up, that is more than the $2.9 million that is in the TIF. So the City Council would have to determine if there's another source to obtain this $900,000. The other issue is, as I mentioned, a lot of these numbers rely on the extension of TIF 8. TIF 8 currently would expire in 14 years. To extend a TIF, you need the consent of the Illinois State Legislature. They need to actually amend the TIF Act to allow that. It could be extended out for another 12 years, for a total of 26 years. It is the policy of Speaker Welch, and I just know this because I happened to do this for another client recently, that they will not extend a TIF, they will not put a bill unless they have full consent from the other taxing bodies, namely the Park District and the School District. So to get that bill run, that would be, it's not impossible, and it is something that could very well be done, but it's something that is literally outside of the city's hands. And then the final thing is just we would need right now a better understanding of how the development group is structured, what their corporate structure is going to be, and who owns and controls these properties. With that, that is the conclusion of my presentation. Noel, did you have anything to add to that?
Not at this time, but I'm glad to answer questions if there
Okay,
are any.
sorry for dumping so much information, but as I mentioned, Chair Hayes, this is Alderman Felix's motion, so I don't know if you wanted to have him speak on it.
I appreciate all that information, Stu. I certainly have some questions for everyone or issues I'd like to flag, but Alderman Felix, I know that you brought this to us, so if you have any comments or things you want to address in response to Corporation Counsel, go ahead.
Well, pretty much, I don't really have much to say. He went kind of thoroughly through everything. We do need something to spark the downtown, to bring in business. This is something that is, I think, is a good opportunity. And I did send you guys some emails. These guys have originally asked for more. They actually bought the other 38 building, the Fong's restaurant, to bring in more TIF money into, that we can utilize. It's at our discretion, but we can utilize it towards this. So I think that is something that we should move forward on. But I would be gladly to answer any questions. They are here as well to answer any questions you guys might have.
Alderwoman Florian?
Thank you, Chair. So I have a couple of questions. How, I don't know if Noel or Stu can answer this, the TIF 8 grows a little bit every year, right, as tax, how much does it grow every year?
I'd have to look it up. Let me look and see if I can get you
Okay,
an
thank
answer.
you. And do we know, I don't know if I ask you, Alderman Felix, or the developers, but do they currently own this building at whatever the address is, the old Y building?
Oh, if you don't mind stepping up and, yeah, if that's okay, yeah.
200 North County, sorry.
Chair Hayes, do you have an objection to having the developer speak?
Pardon me, Counsel?
Do you have any objection to
Oh,
having the
no,
developer
no,
speak?
not at all. So long as you don't move the microphone and state your name for the record.
To answer your question about site control, we have contractual site control of the property.
Okay, so that means once the process starts rolling, you can actually purchase it? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that. So then, item 2 on whatever page this is, the second page says, part of this is to direct city staff to enter again, I don't know why the again is there, but into negotiations with them for redevelopment of the city-owned parking lot B. So why them? Like, why are we not just putting that out for bid? And what is the again? Have we already been negotiating with them on this?
No, it's in phases. So the overall big phase would, as they presented before, is the bigger project. But this is the first phase where, the city wanted us for them to kind of do a smaller development and break it down. So to enter again would be for the bigger project.
Okay, thank you.
I would note that any sale of any property within a TIF district, which this is, public property would require to be publicly bid out. So before, a proposal could be received from them, but would also need to be publicly advertised and bid out.
I'll call on myself. All right, so as it relates to Lot B, that has to go to the public, so we can't even negotiate the sale to this group without it first going out to market and giving them an opportunity to bid on it with everyone else, right?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, so that's one of the items.
Chairman, may I add something to that?
Certainly.
My team has been working for some time on an RFQ process for that property.
So there's a chance it goes to market. It's in the works, so to speak. Okay. To me, the big issue that we have here is that we're being asked to spend or award incentives, monetary incentives that we don't even have the money to cover. Like, how are we going to cover $900,000 in upfront TIF funds when we don't even have the money to give them? We all sit up here, we all look at the budgets, we see things that come before us. We all nitpick, as we should, in our own way, whether it's something that didn't go out for competitive bidding, or there's something on the payrolls that someone's questioning, or the check run. And those are small dollar values compared to giving $900,000 away when we don't even have the money. So my question is, and if someone can answer it, by all means, help me out. Where are we going to get the money?
If I may, if maybe we can have the finance director come up. The city is in a position where we do have the money. It's just up to us to see where we're gonna, get it from. There's
But
many
it's
ways.
from the, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, go ahead. All right, so if it's related to the TIF 8 specifically. We've committed to spend more than the money that's already in TIF 8. And so now we're gonna tack another $900,000 onto that commitment. We don't have the money to do it. And then if you go down the road on this, it looks like in 14 years, the TIF increment contribution, and I'm certain I'm getting the vocabulary wrong, only amounts to $556,000. So we're gonna give $900,000 that we don't have now to get $500,000 back in 14 years. And if the state legislature is so generous as to award an additional 12 years, we then get $1.5 million in 26 years. So even if we give away the $1.75 million total that they're asking for, in 26 years, that money will not have been repaid. Now, I'm probably getting something wrong here, but that sounds like a really bad investment. And I agree that something needs to be done, and we have to pump some form of life into downtown. But committing money that we don't have for money that, in exchange for money that we won't see or that won't repay us for our investment, just sounds like a really bad use of taxpayer dollars, or TIF dollars, as the case may be.
Yes. What I would like to add to that is that we have a Y building that it's been sitting there for years. The plan is to have a bank there. There's a whole plan for that area, including fixing the gym, 19, market rate apartments. This would make a difference in 14 years if we bring that to the downtown. Currently, it's not. There's empty buildings not doing nothing. So this is what we're essentially trying to do. Besides the TIF money that we're looking at the hard numbers, we're looking to bring in other business that would ultimately add money into our city in other ways.
I agree. I don't think you're wrong. I think that's one way to look at this, is to say, hey, we have to do something, and hopefully it will generate growth downtown. I just don't feel like hope is our best strategy. And I think that perhaps there's other incentives that we can give them. Perhaps there's a lesser dollar value, I don't know if they're willing to engage in that discussion, a significantly lesser dollar value. But I don't think it's prudent for us to commit to spend money that we don't have, but by a long, like, we don't have any of it. So, and we'll never be repaid for it. So someone needs to take the risk to buy the building and invest in the building. I agree. That's the risk that a developer takes. It should not be, that risk should not be completely mitigated by the city backing them up and saying, we're going to give you all this money up front to just kind of soften the blow. So I think that's my biggest concern, and what I see to be the threshold issue here. If we don't get past this, we probably don't get to anything else. We don't know what's going to happen during audience time or tomorrow, let alone 30 years from now. So committing to parking spaces, 19 parking spaces for 30 years just seems like a bad move. I know, Alderman Felix, that you had proposed reducing that quite a bit, but if there's already parking available, I don't think that the city should offer that. I think that the developer can pay for it. The developer can come to us and ask for a reduced parking rate. The tenants that occupy these 19 units can then come to us and try to negotiate a lower rate. We've done that for other people. I'm willing to bet we're willing to do it for others. And not to get too bogged down here, but what's interesting is that we have We have $1.5 million that need to be spent on the very parking garage in which we're going to then be asked to offer free parking spaces. The $1.5 million has to come out of the very TIF that they're asking for us to allocate funds from. So it's a little bit cart before the horse. So those are some of my preliminary concerns. I'm happy to call on anybody else who has questions.
I can.
Go ahead.
So the 30-year, I do think that maybe we can do like a 5-year commitment towards it, but again, we're they're developers. Part of one of the developers that is in the group is someone that has proven that could rent out market rate spaces in our area, but in terms of having we're here that we want to help bring in the money into the downtown area. So, why not help with the 19 spaces? Now, that's 19 spaces. Everything else, we can ask for them, to usually one unit or one, usually have more than one car. So that's something that we could bring into the garage. There's no money being made right now. I mean, there's almost, we want to bring those dollars into this downtown area. We need to. There's nothing has been done in many years. I don't know if you want to speak to that, Sam, regarding the parking.
Sure. In terms of the price point that we're looking at for these units is within it'll be probably the highest price point in downtown. As a result, one of the people are not going to pay that high price point unless they can say they have a designated parking space. I understand about street parking. That's obviously something that's, it's a good change to the ordinance. But in terms of being able to command the rent rates, there has to be an allocated parking spot per unit to achieve that. Now, if there's a concern about 30 years, we're certainly happy to have that conversation about 30. We could do 10 and then 5-year extension, something like that. But, we're happy to work with the city on that.
It just strikes me that we're giving away a lot for the hope that we might get something in return and the guarantee that we won't get the money back. And that just sounds like a bad deal. So I'm of the opinion that this shouldn't be shut down and the discussion should continue to take place. But the way I see it, these numbers don't make any sense. And I don't know how I could go out to members of the public or talk to anybody who would call me after this meeting and explain justify voting yes for something like this. So we can keep talking about it.
Can we ask Don to come up? Because, Don, if you don't mind, and also Stu, this is a development like this is not uncommon, correct? Am I right? I mean, you deal with a lot of cities. This is a really fairly small project, isn't it?
I would say that using TIF money in a downtown core to stimulate growth is very common. There are some communities that have different policies. Some communities do not want to use TIF money for residential because the feeling is that it doesn't generate other taxes like sales tax, but there is no prohibition on using it for residential, and there is a lot of precedent for using it to increase density or foot traffic, if that's what you're asking.
So if we were to pass this, Stu and Don, how does that look like? Can we explain that to the public if we were to say, okay, we're going to go for this? How would that look like? How would we engage and look for the money to provide for this?
I can begin, and then I would probably ask Don to kind of clarify. Mm-hmm. As the current TIF increment, the current TIF fund is oversubscribed, you could say, or not. It's not overdrawn, but there's a lot of other demands on it. The city would basically have to borrow from one of its other funds, create basically loan itself this money from another fund, and then reimburse that fund over time as increment was generated. Don, that was a lawyer's attempt at explaining this. Is that an accurate description of at least one way to approach an upfront incentive?
That's one way. Have you touched upon the contiguous TIFs? The fact that in downtown and Lakefront area, you have 3 TIF districts that are contiguous, which means you can take money and use it in another district that connects to it. TIF 7, 8, and 9 are contiguous TIFs, and money can be drawn from all 3 TIFs to fund a project in any of those 3 TIFs.
Don, which TIF is, or Noah, which TIF is to the north?
The North Lakefront TIF is TIF number 7.
Okay, and does anyone know, Noah, do you know off the top of your head how much is in TIF 7?
It's about $1 million.
Okay.
And we have obligations to the tune of, off the top of my head, 1.2 million.
Okay. And that's mainly Seahorse Drive right now, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
primarily engineering.
For TIF 9, which is the southern lakefront, and which, and I can't remember how much is in there.
And Sheridan Road and 10th Street. That's also about $1 million, $1,027,934. We have obligations over a longer term for in excess of 18 million.
But immediate obligations are less than that.
That's correct.
Yes. So to Don's point, conceivably, money could be drawn from other TIFs, but there are projects like redoing Seahorse Drive that would make it, that are also very important. So going back to the original point that I made is that you would have to find another fund to basically take this from it and create more or less a promissory note back to the city.
Which we can. I think we are in a position where we can. And I don't know, do you guys have any other questions? Otherwise, we can call for a vote.
I guess I would just say that I'm open to hearing proposals for a reduced amount. I think that reduced amounts had been discussed at some point with the developer. I don't know exactly what those amounts may be, but if you guys want to discuss it now or hold it over and discuss it, I'm fine with that. I'm not trying to summarily shoot this down or propose that. I mean, the way it currently stands, I think we should, but I think it's worth having the discussion and trying to see if we can breathe life back into it.
I would like to just call for the vote and push it to the
Mr.
Counsel.
Chairman, may I try to answer Alderman Florian's question about how much we generate?
Sure.
So I can, just from what I could look out here, it looks like we've generated about $500,000 in the last 10 or so months. It does vary based on what we're earning on investments because the money's invested while we have it. So it depends on, the investment yields and the growth that happens in a TIF district over time.
Okay. Alderman Felix, I don't know how many aldermen you've talked to about this. I didn't have a conversation with you, but I'm curious if you'd be willing to consider, as far as the monetary value, because our city, just so everyone knows, our city policy has always been to not give TIF money up front. Correct, Noel? So this would be breaking with long-standing city policy to give any money up front. I'm very against that idea. But what I would consider is possibly doing maybe half of the money up front and then the other half halfway through the project or at the end of the project when we know this is really going to happen. So I'm curious if you would consider that.
They've already been back and forth. I mean, in terms of they're having once we go into the negotiation there'll be placeholders on there. They'll have to meet certain what do you call it, criterias or whatever we set forth in the negotiation. They're going to meet those before any more money is being released. So this is kind of like. It went down from the biggest amount to where they're at right now. So, and in terms of the policy, I mean, yes, it is an old policy, but how long have we not have any development in our downtown? So.
Well, Mickey Shook has developed buildings, as you said earlier, and rented them out quite quickly and nicely and easily. So, I mean, I won't say we haven't had no development.
Yes, but this is done on a bigger scale and something that would make huge impact. I I think I would like to just move forward with this, if we can call the vote.
Alderwoman Newsom, yes, please.
I just wanted to add that I'm kind of hesitant with this because we have the Academy Square building, which was developed, and I believe we used TIF to help with that. And we still have an unfinished building downtown that has been sitting there since, 2005, 6, after the Academy. So when they start asking for money up front from the city, it has not turned out to be a good development.
Thank you, Alderwoman Newsom. I think having the benefit of past experiences is really helpful. Are there any other comments or questions? Okay, roll call, please. Just as a reminder, we are on agenda item 4B. Excuse me.
Alderman Donenworth,
Aye.
Alderman Florian,
While I'm excited about development, and especially if we can get this building done, I'm just not happy with the terms of this proposal, so no.
Alderman Martinez,
Aye.
Alderman Felix,
Aye.
Alderman Hayes.
No. Motion carries.
That motion will go up to the city council at the next city council meeting. In the meantime, I will work with Alderman Felix and the developers, and we will probably put together more of a resolution and possibly a term sheet that would better.
But in terms of it, didn't we have it on the council for today?
No, the mayor asked that it only be on committee, so we will work on what it goes onto the main agenda.
I would like it to go to this one.
It's not on the agenda. The mayor said things that are on committee get discussed once a committee before they go on the main agenda.
But that's not what I propose is for it to be on this meeting for vote.
But it's not on the main agenda. So it
Okay,
cannot be
so
voted on.
we're going to, just because we have to keep going because we have other committee meetings, at some point, I also want to understand how much we've spent so far just to get it this far. It sounds like we have an expert fees and legal fees built into this. I think we're north of $30,000 just to get it to tonight, which probably paints the picture of where we'll be going in terms of city costs that we won't be reimbursed for. So to the extent that we can get some of that information by the next city council meeting, that'd be helpful. Agenda item 5C. Can I get a first and a second?
First. Second.
First from Alderman Martinez, second from Alderman Donilworth. 5C is an ordinance creating a Class C retail package sales liquor license for Hart Sport, Inc., located at 2435 Washington Street. Are there any questions? Is the applicant here tonight for 2435 Washington Street? No? Okay.
Well, I'd like to hold this over then until they're here to answer my question.
Okay.
Is that the hotspot place?
Yes. Or
What-
what will now be known as Hart Sport.
What's the question that you need to ask? That's in my ward. I already talked to it extensively.
I think Alderman Florian wanted to talk to the applicant. Item 5C is being held over. Can I get a first and a second for agenda item 5D?
Oh, can I put a motion to override that holdover for the Class C?
Who was making that motion? Was that you or Alderman Guzman? I wasn't sure who I heard there.
Both. He'll second it.
Okay, Alderman Guzman's not on the committee.
Sorry. Can I put a motion to hold that over? No, to not hold it over, to override that holdover.
Second.
Okay, so motion to override the holdover. Any questions to the motion? Council, you want to explain to us what we're spending our time on right now?
Okay, so just let me ask, this was being held over for what reason?
Because I wanted to ask the applicant a question and they're not here.
Okay. So to override a holdover requires requires 2/3. So that would require 4 of the.
I also have a question for the applicant to the extent that it matters about the signage. All right, so we are voting.
3 out of 5 is only 0.6, so it would require 4 out of the 5 points, basically 0.7, 4 out of the 5 members to override the holdover here at committee.
Okay, so a yes vote is to override, a no vote is to continue with the holdover, or to not override.
Yeah.
Roll call, please.
So hold on, just to make sure, to override their holdover, it is a yes vote?
Yes, yes. If you,
I
if you
wanna
want to
override.
override, vote yes. If
Okay.
if you want to sustain the holdover, vote no.
And you said we need 4?
We need 4 because it needs to be 2/3. And so 2/3 of a 5-member body is actually it's 0.66. 3 divided by 5 is 6, 0.6. It needs to be 0.66. So you need to go to 0.7.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Donenworth,
Aye.
Alderman Florian,
No.
Alderman Martinez,
Aye.
Alderman Felix,
Aye.
Chairman Hayes.
No. This will be held over till the next meeting. Agenda item 5D, can I get a first and a second?
First.
First from Alderman Donilworth. Without a second, we're not going to discuss agenda item 5D.
Second.
Second from Alderman Martinez. Agenda item 5D is an ordinance creating a Class C retail package sales liquor license for Viusut Inc., DBA Tobacco Shop located at 438 North Green Bay Road. Are there any questions? Alderwoman Florian, are the applicants here? Thanks, guys. Come on up. If you don't mind, don't touch the microphone, but state your full name for the council. And thank you for being here.
On your application, there's a section that says, sale of tobacco, yes, sale of food, yes, sale of liquor, no, but aren't you here asking for a liquor license?
Yes, ma'am.
Do we need to correct that, Noel?
I will defer to the finance team who have much more expertise than I do in this.
Okay, so once they get this, then the answer would be yes to that. Okay, got it. So you're estimating that 35% of your sales will be alcohol once you get this, and everything else is food and tobacco. Do you have like a grocery store, or is it just convenience store?
We have a grocery store. We also got the license for the EBT food stamp, so we are able to sell more grocery frozen item too.
Okay. And you know, once you have this liquor license, it cannot be transferred, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question for you. As business operator at 438 North Green Bay Road, right? Do you commit to complying with all the requirements of the Unified Development Ordinance?
Yes.
Okay, all right. That includes signage requirements. So I would encourage you to take a look at the UDO, as we refer to it, just to make sure you're in compliance. Okay, thanks for being here. All right, any other questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Alderman Donenworth,
Aye.
Alderman Florian,
Aye.
Alderman Martinez,
Aye.
Alderman Felix,
Aye.
Chairman Hayes.
Aye, motion passes. All right, reports, communication, information, agenda item 6, there being none, a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned at 5:44 on January 21st. Thanks, everyone.